Call order of a special meeting of the Goodyear City Council, 19 June 2006. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Didn't look like Big Susan.
Dear Lord, please provide enlightenments to this enlightenment. There we go. Provide enlightenment to this council this evening during our deliberations, and take care of our public safety folks as they work throughout the community, and certainly care for those that we love and admire and respect who are serving their country in Afghanistan and Iraq. Amen.
Amen. Good work. They didn't look like Susan. No,
It shows you're not perfect.
Okay.
This government coming up with a new word every day.
I apologize to Webster, but I did realize immediately I erred. I just didn't know what the correct word was. That's all.
No wonder you on mute.
Last time I'll take your place in the prayer. Okay. All council members are in attendance this evening. We have the draft minutes of a special meeting held on 30 May for your review and approval. Comments? Questions? Okay, and so include those for filing if we could, and we have no expenditures to approve or ratify. Are there any commendations or presentations to be made by any council members or the public? Seeing none, it's opportunity now for the council members to report on current events. Do we have any council member who would like to make a report? Councilmember Antoniak.
Yeah, just a real quick report on Saturday morning. Councilmember Sousa and myself, and I think a few others were invited but maybe weren't able to attend. Senator Kyle was out at the Wigwam and visited with a few leaders in the West Valley, Mayor Gila Ben, Mayor Wickenburg, and Supervisor Wilson, some others, new mayor of Litchfield Park. Great conversation, just reaffirmed exactly where he stands on many issues that we have facing the West Valley, transportation being obviously the biggest priority for us, and just wanted to verbalize that on whether it was on his behalf. Wasn't asked to this evening, but just he continues to go around, whether it's a small crowd, a large crowd, talks straight to us and gives us honest feedback on where things stand with him as to our priorities.
Good.
Okay, seeing no other requests for reporting, opportunity for the city manager to report on council-related matters and to give us an update on legislative issues as desired.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we're still waiting for the legislature to go home so we can begin to do our business at the local level.
Wow.
Well said.
There's a lot in that.
They heard that one.
Okay, it's now opportunity for the citizens to talk to the council on any item that is not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone like to make a comment on a non-agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the clerk to read them by title only, please. Read it by title only, please.
Item 8A, adopt resolution 06-29614, ratifying authorization to Arizona Public Entity NFCE Loss Recovery Coalition Incorporated to accept settlement offer of PricewaterhouseCoopers in connection with the action filed to recover funds lost due to investment in securities managed by National Century Financial Enterprises.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove that item from consent? Would anyone on council wish to remove it from consent? Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept the consent agenda as read by the clerk.
I second that, clarifying that it's 062961.
I was going to do that.
Okay, as clarified, we have a motion from Councilmember Scott, and a second from Councilmember Antoniak. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Lord,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier,
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Okay, we'll now move to the business part of our agenda. We only have one item on the agenda, but it is an important one, and a lot of citizen interest. And talk about awarding a contract for solid waste and recyclable collection and sanitation. And Brian Barnes will present.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Brian Barnes, Public Works Superintendent for Sanitation, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about our recommendation number 1, which is for the council to award a contract to Eagle Hauling Subcontracting to Waste Management to provide an all-inclusive solid waste recyclable material collection service. I have a few key points that I'd like to point out to you and review a little bit of the history. The key point of this contract is that it includes all of the key recommendations of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. These recommendations include the implementation of an automated collection, implementing curbside recycling, recommendation to include once-a-week collection of refuse and once-a-week collection of recycling, to allow our residents to have a choice of 3 different sizes of containers for both refuse and recycling, and to implement a flat rate billing system. There were a few changes to this contract that were made after the committee recommendations. One of these changes was to add the containers to the collection contract rather than having them as a separate contract. Part of that was due to some of the financial limitations of the city's budget and the impact on our financial audits. Another part of the contract was to change it from a 5-year contract to a 10-year contract. The impact of this is it would lower the bid by allowing the contractors to depreciate their equipment over a longer period of time, and also allow them to spread the initial cost of containers out over a 10-year period as well. Both of these impacts, as a result, we've seen lower bids. Inevitably, when you talk about contract changes, everything is going to end up relating back to the monthly rate. And Larry Lang, our finance director, is going to talk to you in a little bit about that in relation to recommendation number 2. One of the key things that I would like to point out is that during this process we had some conversations and discussions with our current contractor, Allied Waste, about the possibility of extending this current contract for another year to provide manual collections for 1 more year. We know from those discussions that the cost of providing that service was going to be a minimum of $2 additional above and beyond what the current bid came in at. So we know that the cost of manual collections is significantly higher than the automated collections. The proposed rate of $21.50 per month compares to other municipalities as shown in this chart. Other municipalities, Goodyear's rate here, I should point out, is the current rate of $17.30. When it is changed to the proposed rate of $21.50, it compares a little bit higher than most other municipalities. The key municipality that we would want to compare this to is Mesa. Mesa is the only other community that offers a similar type of sanitation program to what we are proposing for the city of Goodyear. All of these municipalities offer once-a-week collection of refuse and recycling. Only Mesa offers 52 bulk collections per year, and only Mesa offers 3 different sizes of refuse and recycling containers comparable to what the city is offering.
Could you repeat that? All provide once?
All of the cities on this list provide once-a-week collection of refuse, once-a-week collection of recycled collections.
All right, thank you.
Virtually every city in Maricopa County, when they have gone to a curbside recycling program, goes to once-a-week collection of refuse, once-a-week collection of recycling. One of the things that the committee recommended doing was changing it so that we would have both collections occur on the same day. And the reason for that was that we would have trucks out in our neighborhoods less frequently. Instead of having trucks out on 3 days, one for refuse, one for recycling, one for bulk collections, and we have 3 days out of the week where trucks are running around through the neighborhood creating an unsafe environment for our children playing in the streets. We only have 2 days where trucks are going to be out in the streets. One of the other things I would like to point out about this rate for $20.55 for Mesa is that next week the City of Mesa is going to be considering sanitation program changes there as well, where they will be increasing substantially their rates for uncontained collections to maintain those collections at 52 collections per year. Oh, and the other thing I should point out here is that while these other rates are slightly lower, they all are offering slightly less service, and you'll see the bulk collections per year, which is the main difference between them all. Only Goodyear and Mesa will continue to offer that 52 collections per year on the uncontained side. And that service will continue with this program. With this contract, it has been suggested that going to once-a-week refuse and once-a-week recycling is a reduction in the service. The reality is currently residents receive 2 refuse collections during the course of the week. We're asking them to take their current refuse and divide it into recyclable materials and into true refuse. And then we're going to provide both of those collections, so they're going to receive 2 collections. All we're doing is combining the service day so that we have less trucks in the neighborhood. It's really important that we try to promote that recycling because it has a substantial environmental impact for us, and it also has financial impacts. Our pilot program has shown that we can divert up to 25% of our solid waste into recycling. That 25% is going to expand the lifespan of our landfills in the suburban areas to 25% longer. All of the other communities on that list already are taking steps in order to help those landfills prolong that lifespan. We are one of the few communities in the West Valley with a substantial population that has yet to take this step. This contract will take us into that direction. Another key element is that by us diverting 25% of our refuse out of the landfills, we're going to reduce our tipping fees to those landfills by 25%. That may not sound like a lot when we're only talking about 20,000 tons of refuse right now, but in 10 years, those tipping fees could exceed $1 million a year. So it's a substantial savings to the city that we need to take that step now in order to realize that savings as we go along. During the process of implementing this system, we've talked a lot about the educational program. We are working, sanitation staff is working with the PIO to develop educational brochures. I'm sorry that I only have one of them, but I will pass this along to you to show each one of you. This is a brochure that PIO staff has been working on. It provides residents with a lot of information about the program. This brochure is going to be sort of parroting a lot of the information that you're going to see on the website very soon. And there's going to be several pages in the website. If you'd like, I'll pass this around.
Open it up for the camera here, please.
Yeah, the camera's picking it up real well.
Okay.
So I think the public can see it at home.
In this brochure, there are several pages regarding recycling, the changes that we're making to our program, the cost of the new program, discussion about how and when the containers will be distributed to the residents, key information about the new containers, information about what should be placed into the recycling containers, and then several pages on how to select your container size. And at the very bottom here, we have a perforated card that can be filled out and mailed into the city. As I said, a lot of this same information can be seen on our website beginning tomorrow. And on the website, on the website, there are several pages that will show the same amount of information about the fact that recycling is going to be starting soon, what some of the program changes are, how and when you will receive your containers, key information about the containers.
Is that a container on the right?
Well, the one in the orange shirt is actually one of our sanitation employees, Kyle Vale.
Can't pick him then?
No, you can't. You don't get to pick Kyle. He actually is very helpful, probably as helpful as some of the containers, but and he speaks Spanish as well. Some information to help residents decide on which size garbage container they would want to have.
Didn't he get your Employee of the Year award or something?
Yes, actually he did.
Say, remember that for the next time. He's even helpful as a container for next year.
No, he's more helpful.
More helpful than a container.
Information to help you decide what is the best size recycling container for you to use, and then an interactive website which will allow us to let residents go onto our website, fill out the customer information so they can tell us online what size containers they want. And this brochure that's going to be going out to all of our residents is actually going to ask them to go first of all to this website to give us this information. If they can't go onto the website, then they're being asked to go ahead and fill out this card and mail that in to us. If they can't fill out the card and they can't go to the website, then last we're giving them a sanitation hotline number, which will be staffed by 2 sanitation employees, which will be able to take their information over the telephone so that we can ensure that they receive their containers, the size containers that they want.
Brian, does
Yes.
Yes, sir.
does the size of the container determine the amount of monthly cost, or is the monthly cost universal?
The monthly cost is a flat rate. No matter what size container the residents choose, they will receive the same monthly rate as everyone else. The exception to that is in our bid we received a price for a second container. Should someone want to have a second refuse container, we will encourage them to first increase in size to a 95-gallon container. Once they're at a 95, that's the largest size that they can have, then we'll allow them to go to a second container. There is a set monthly fee established by the bid and by the contract of $5.97 per month for complete service on that container and any additional refuse container they want. So they can have as many refuse containers as they want. They'll pay the flat rate plus the $5.97 per month for each additional container they have. Because we want to encourage recycling, however, residents can have as many recycling containers as they desire at no additional cost. So if somebody wants to, if Cindy Easterly was here from our Solid Waste Committee, she would tell you that she's going to use probably about 4 recycling containers, and she's going to pay the flat monthly rate, and then her small bag of garbage will go into a 35-gallon refuse container, and she'll pay the same flat monthly rate as everyone else.
Okay, thank you.
After this brochure is mailed out to all of our residents, this will go out as a direct mail to postal patron. Every resident in the city will get it. After 2 or 3 weeks, the residents who don't respond to the city as part of this program will receive a letter that can be forwarded by the post office. Should a resident decide to spend the summer in some place where I've been told the temperatures are a little bit cooler, then those residents will be notified that they can come back to our website or call us on the hotline to make their container size. One of the other key elements here about this is when you go to the website, it's going to prompt residents to put in their sanitation account number. If they don't have a sanitation account number to put in there, they're going to be prompted to go to the finance website for a sanitation sign-up, because containers will only be delivered to residents who have an active sanitation account. So that way, we'll know that we'll have every resident signed up, and residents that have active accounts are going to be receiving those containers. The educational component of this is not going to stop just with the brochures and the letters and the website. We are also planning on providing 6 different block parties in different parts of the city, where we will invite residents throughout the city to attend those block parties. They will be similar to the block party that we held at Pebble Creek, where we will show the container sizes. We will provide demonstrations on what material should be recycled. We will help them select their container sizes. And we will also talk about the 5 zones that will be implemented. The implementation of the contract is that the contract will be awarded at Council's direction this evening tomorrow. The contract will take effect July 1st. On July 1st, the new contractor will provide manual collections from July through September. We will begin to implement the new automated collections in a phased process. We're dividing the city into the 5 zones based on the collection days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those 5 zones will begin to get their containers in September. Maybe Elmo will come on. In September, on September 4th or 5th, around Labor Day, we will begin distribution of containers in Zone 1. The first week, most of the containers in Zone 1 will be delivered. The second week of delivery will be to pick up those people who begin to realize that we're not getting a container because I don't have an active account. On the 18th of September, Zone 1 collections will begin on Monday, the 18th. Each subsequent Monday, their automated collection will continue, and Zone 1 will be through with any manual collections. Zone 2 container delivery will begin on September 18th, and it will go for 2 weeks. And the collection of Zone 2 will occur on Tuesday, October 3rd. These first 2 zones, you see we've kind of spread it apart a little bit. It gives us a little bit of time to work out any kinks that we may have in the phasing process. But beginning with Zone 3, you'll see that we allow 2 weeks for Zone 3 container delivery, and then we start right away in the second week with Zone 4 container delivery. So the last 3 zones are collected on successive weeks. The end result is all of the automated collections will have begun and been completed by November 3rd, so that everybody will know what day they're being collected on before we start getting into the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays.
Can you identify the zones at the present time?
At the present time, I can't. We're working with the successful bidder right now to establish those zones. Each one of those zones will have approximately 4,000 dwelling units in it. So you could, at this point, assume that Pebble Creek would be one zone, Estrella Mountain Ranch would be one zone, and other areas around Canyon Trails, for example, would be divided into the 4,000 homes. What we'll be trying to do is work with the contractors to establish those zones by clearly defined arterial streets, so that residents will easily be able to know where they fit into the zone.
It's important to make sure that the people that are affected by this, where the delivery date, the pickup dates are currently in effect. For example, in Palm Valley, it's Tuesday and Fridays. Okay, it's important for the various subdivisions to know if their dates have been changed. I'm sure you have that in your plan.
Yes, everybody is essentially going to have a date change because nobody's collected on Wednesday, and we're going to have now 4,000 homes collected on Wednesday. As you pointed out, different areas, Pebble Creek, for example, is collected on Tuesday and Friday. Palm Valley's collected those days. And so one of those days will probably change. is very likely. As part of this educational process, and when we go to all of the block parties, we're going to be publishing that information. We should have that information determined with our contractor, hopefully at tomorrow's meeting with them.
What happens at holiday time? That always concerns me because,
You need to speak into the
I'm sorry, thank you.
mic.
What happens at holiday times? That always concerns me. At Christmas time, families with a number of children have put together 10 toys and they've got 10 boxes, and Christmas morning they got all the wrapping paper. What happens during that time period?
Are you talking, is your question regarding the
I'm
collection
checking if they
dates
have
or the
too
amount
much.
of?
If the amount, they have too much. Now, what do they do with it?
Well, that's one of the key elements in selecting the correct container that you want to use. For example, most of your presents are wrapped in paper and in small cardboard boxes that can be recycled, so you want to be able to have a large enough recycling container that can take the largest volume you're going to produce during 1 week of the year.
So that's the key word then. Tell the people
Exactly.
their biggest holiday.
Their
that's the
biggest
container they
holiday,
want.
their biggest parties, their biggest events, the kind of hobbies that they have, the amount of newspapers or magazines that they subscribe to. There's a lot of different factors that we're telling people in these brochures. These are things that you want to consider when you pick out your container.
Councilmember Scott?
A couple of questions, Brian. In your brochure, or at some later date, will you circulate a calendar for the entire year revolving around changes in pickup days on holidays and so forth? Will that happen? And will there be a phone number for people to call at the new service if they have a problem with their service?
Yes, absolutely. We will have actually a refrigerator magnet that we'll be producing that will show any holidays that are affected by collection and what the revised collection schedules will be. Essentially, by mirroring the uncontained collection with the contained collection during a week when there's a holiday, whatever day the holiday may fall on, those collections will move back 1 day during that week. And so if a holiday falls on a Monday, collections for every day that week will fall back 1 week. If a holiday falls on a Thursday, the Monday through Wednesday collections will be normal, and then the Thursday and Friday collections will fall on the Friday and Saturday. And we'll put all of that into educational material, and we intend to put that out as refrigerator magnets where it's easy for people to see. One other thing that I'd like to talk about is that next week you're scheduled to see numerous code changes come to you as part of this change in the sanitation program. These code changes will reflect changes that are necessitated by the change in how we do things. For example, setting the standard monthly rate, the refuse and recycling only being collected from city-issued containers. It'll establish the rates for additional refuse containers, a rate for residents' responsibility for damage to a container, account suspension fee, and an administrative fee for changing container sizes. The way we have set the program up is every resident will have one annual opportunity to change the size of container that they have at no charge, but if they wish to make an additional 2 or 3 changes during the year, there'll be a set fee for that. These code changes will also eliminate the minimum service level, which is a code section that we had to provide commercial service, and we no longer provide that. It will also eliminate the furlough program, but it will provide a way for residents to put their account on suspension, but at a rate that discourages that. And then there will also be many other numerous minor changes reflecting the fact that we're going from an automated to an automated collection system from a manual collection system. Yes?
Brian, did I hear you say earlier that the recycle day and the trash pickup day will be the same day?
That's correct.
So you'll have both trash cans out, or the trash can and the recycle can out the same day?
Right. we're hoping that that will
Side by side.
eliminate a lot of confusion so that we don't, as we're going down the street collecting recycling containers, that somebody hasn't put the wrong container out and put their refuse container out. We can't mix the two in the same truck, so there'll be two different trucks coming down the street. Our educational material will be talking about the fact that the containers need to sit in the gutter line, the wheels back against the curb, they need to be 2 feet apart. You don't want to place them next to your mailbox where the truck can inadvertently knock your mailbox down. You don't want them next to your car parked out in the street where the truck can accidentally knock out a headlight or front grille. We will be covering that sort of information in our educational materials.
Well, you passed over very quickly the furlough thing. Are you going to charge, they can put themselves on furlough, but I assume the rate's not going to change. Is that what you passed over?
What we're trying to do is to be able to offer residents an opportunity to suspend their account for some period of time. The fee for suspending that account, I believe we have set at $125, so that it will discourage somebody from trying to go on furlough for 2 or 3 months, because they'll pay the $125, then they'll come back and they'll start it up again and they'll go. The other thing that we're going to do is when somebody suspends their account, we are going to have a work system in place so the contractor will go out and collect those containers. When they come back and they want to reactivate their account, they'll be able to reactivate it, and then new containers will be delivered to them.
Do you have more to talk about, or?
Actually,
Or open it up?
I believe Larry Lang wants to say a few words to you about the monthly rate, and then Bob Williams, the chairman of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, has a few words for you as well.
Can I ask
Mayor?
a question?
All right, do you want to ask questions now?
Well, I think it's specific to the furlough program. Where's the Where's the $125 mark come from? Because that was new and there's in the back of the room. I don't think we discussed that.
No, that didn't actually come from a discussion from the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. That came from a discussion in staff as a way to allow people to suspend their account for some reason, for medical reasons, for if they want to sell their house and they're not going to actually have service provided anymore, but they may own the house for an additional 6 to 8 months, sort of thing. So we wanted to be able to provide some flexibility in the code sections, and those code sections are going to be coming back to you for your review next week.
Okay. So that's not part of tonight's decision.
That's not part of tonight's decision. I wanted to let you know we've discussed this briefly in the past. Those things are coming to you, and they're part of this program, but they're not here for your review tonight.
So that we don't blend next week's conversation with this week's conversation, because I fear we may go there, Mayor, is we may end up blending the code discussion and the question I just brought up with this evening's. But this evening's, we're just talking about the contract, and then we're talking about the rate.
Right.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mayor?
Councilmember Holland?
Brian, I like the idea of the brochure. It's excellent, by the way, and I think it's probably going to head off a lot of questions that people have. But one of the issues that was also mentioned in the brochure was when you're out delivering the new containers and someone has been delinquent on their fees, they will be wondering why they didn't get the new containers. And when the pickup takes place, they may be wondering why their garbage is still in the old can sitting out in front of their house. How do you take care of the are we going to send a manual truck out to pick those up, or we just say it's delinquent, they have to hold on to their garbage, or how are we going to do this?
First, let me clarify that during the container delivery phase, we have scripted a lot of different scenarios that we expect to possibly get questioned on. The contractors, staff who will be out delivering the containers, finance staff, sanitation staff will all have the answers to all of these questions so that everybody will be giving them the same response. The key component, if their account is delinquent or if they have a non-active account, is that they need to come into finance or they need to go online and set that account up or come into finance to bring their account up to a current status. And we intend to provide courtesy manual collections if we have to for people who are in that process. So if they get down to the point and they've missed that first collection, but they have refuse and they're not going to be able to put it back out on the curb for another week, we'll go out and we'll provide that courtesy collection. We have that built into the contract. We also have sanitation staff with our uncontained collections that will be able to handle all of those circumstances.
Yeah, because I just assume some people might be in dire straits to pay that fee to bring them up to date, and they also will be stuck with all this.
There's several different scenarios that we're looking at, and we've planned out scripts for somebody not home when their containers are delivered and they're sitting outside for 2-3 days. What we're going to do in response to that, we're not going to leave the containers sitting out, advertise that nobody's at home. We'll be addressing all of those issues.
Could we maybe, when you come back to us next month, or whenever you come back for the further discussion here, you've already given us a lot of thought. Could you give us a list of these questions and answers that your folks are going to circulate so we can be briefed on them before we get the phone calls?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to put together a list of those scenarios for you and our scripted response.
That would help, I think.
Councilmember Chisholm?
Thank you, Mr. I don't know if these questions are in order right now.
Their finance will wait. If they aren't, they are.
As regarding the contract?
If it regards the actual taking up of property. Yeah.
Will you take the question?
Sure.
Okay. I have two. Okay. This is going to be a 10-year contract. You say that these rates will then be evaluated on an annual basis. Do you have any idea what the percentage of increases would be over the 10-year period?
It's impossible to predict exactly where that will go. Previous sanitation contracts that the city had took an annual set fee built into the contract. What we've done with this contract is we've said, give us your lowest possible monthly rate to start off the contract. The contractor's rate will be evaluated each year and increased by 80% of the CPI, All Western Urban Consumers Guide. So what we can do, and this is one of the things that will be coming back to you next week, is a way for us to administratively increase the rate each year to keep up with the cost of living without having to come back to council and ask for council to pass another resolution to increase rates.
Okay.
Now, you indicate here that the low bidder is Eagle Hauling, and in all probability you'll notify them tomorrow that they have the contract. What type of historical background do you have on this firm?
Eagle Hauling is a small firm that performs roll-off collections primarily in California. They just recently incorporated in Arizona. They attended a mandatory pre-bid meeting for this contract. Waste Management did not attend that meeting. And so Waste Management contracted through Eagle Hauling to utilize their services to provide this contract as a subcontractor. Our contract does allow for the contract to be subcontracted with the city's permission. And prior to accepting the bid, the city did accept the bid as a subcontractor.
You know, we've gone through this before with the refuse hauling companies that have come in and given us low bid. We've accepted those. And a year after they've been contracted, we find out that they've sold their business to another entity. That entity comes back and tries to renegotiate the contract. What assurances do we have in viability that this company is going to be in business for a tenure of 10 years?
First of all, the contract has a provision in it that the contract cannot be sublet to any other company without the city's approval. So in other words, if Waste Management or Eagle Hauling were to be sold off or to try and sell this contract off to another company, they would have to get our permission for it to be assigned to another company or sold to another company before that could actually occur.
Well, if Eagle went defunct, then West Management would step in and assume that assume the contract? Is that the idea?
I would have to probably defer to our legal department on that. We don't anticipate that happening, as the major player in this contract is the subcontractor, Waste Management.
I assume that they would have liability to
Yes.
fulfill their obligation.
Yes, and they do have all of the insurance requirements to meet the city's requirements for insurance. And Waste Management is a national player.
Legal, would my assumption be correct?
That Waste Management would step in? I don't know. I don't really think it would be, because your contract's with Eagle.
Yeah.
It's with Eagle Hauling. And Waste Management is not the lowest qualified bidder. I would have to examine the contract and your bid documents, but it may put you into a situation where you have to move on to the next lowest qualified bidder if we're fairly close in time, or go through another procurement process.
You can't do that.
'Cause I don't think Waste Management automatically steps into the shoes of Eagle Hauling. They're a subcontractor.
No, they're out of the picture completely.
They are.
because They didn't bid in time.
Their arrangement is with Eagle Hauling, not with the city.
We have to give permission to Eagle to be able to allow Waste Management to be their sub, though.
We had to allow
It would happen.
Eagle
I mean,
to subcontract.
purchasing had to go
Yes,
through evaluation criteria to allow Waste Management to be the sub.
that's correct.
Okay. So if Waste Management goes default, Eagle would be held responsible to uphold the contract, whatever they'd have to do in order to make sure that the trash is being picked up in a timely manner. But in the reverse, if Eagle goes default and Eagle goes belly up,
I'm guessing
Then
Waste
we're at square
Management
one, it
might
sounds like.
step in and buy the assets of Eagle. I'm just guessing.
yeah, would make sense.
Step in their shoes. And that would work.
Which we would still have to approve, because if the
Yes.
name changes on the company, as with any other contract, service-oriented or otherwise in the city, we would have to approve that new prime.
That's correct.
Okay.
Or likely to be a subsidiary.
I didn't hear that comment.
Said likely to be a subsidiary if Waste Management were to buy Eagle Hauling's assets in that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Where are you going to take complaints, to Eagle or to Waste Management?
We have sent everything to this point through Eagle.
Once it's up and running, people complain.
Tomorrow, we're going to be setting up that operational protocol with all of the players in this contract, so that we're going to know who's going to be on the email list, so that as we get daily operational questions, I put my cans out too late, the truck's gone by, we come back and collect it. I had my cans outside, but the truck drove by and didn't pick them up. I had it out there, but I don't know why they didn't collect it. They tried to collect it and they didn't collect it. All of those sort of daily operational issues, we're going to be working out with them as we go through, establishing an email system similar to what we utilize right now, where there are several individuals from the current contractor, several individuals from city staff who receive the emails, and then whoever is responsible for taking action takes that action and then notifies the group that the customer service complaint's been taken care of. That way we assure that we have a very high customer service satisfaction return.
Move on.
Okay, I guess, Larry?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. On June 15th, if I could have Elmo up, please. On June 15th, we met with the Solid Waste Advisory Committee to review much of the discussion that Brian just gave you, but also at that time to review the necessary adjustments to the rates as a result of this contract. The contained collection contract costs are increasing from $11.30 to $14.04 per month, effective July 1st. That is a 24% increase. The increase in the remaining portions of the contract using the same rate of 24% would be $1.46 from $6 to $7.46. This would provide a total rate increase from $17.30 per month to $21.50 per month, or a 24% rate increase. This rate increase, as proposed, would be effective with the October billing, and that is intentional to coincide with the schedule that Brian showed you a few minutes ago, because that is where the customers and the residents of Shoalo, or excuse me, of Goodyear, Freudian slip there, would see the changes in service over that period of time.
They call you too.
These changes will be incorporated within the ordinance presented to you next week, but we are recommending that, at the recommendation also of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, we are recommending that tonight, as part of your motion, that you also adopt the total sanitation rate as recommended by the committee and as presented this evening. The reason for that is so that tomorrow, as the publication goes for that advertisement, it can show the rate to the customers at that point in time, and we can get that out as soon as possible. The costs are expected to increase, as Brian indicated, based on the consumer price index. What we're recommending is that future increases be at the full consumer price index, with that differential allowing us to catch up to the actual full cost recovery, the target of that being 2009-2010. Kept my comments intentionally brief. I know that Chairman Williams would like to address you, but if you have any questions on this aspect of it, I'd be happy to take those comments at this, or questions at this time.
Any questions you can get later, but go ahead,
Sure.
Vice Mayor.
Well, I thought I understood this until I read this, because it says effective July 1st for the cost for contained collection. And then I go down here and it says the increase effective October billing. So when does the increase starts in July or October?
Okay, Mayor Kavanaugh, Vice Mayor Cavalier, the increase in the city's costs to collect the trash takes effect in July.
That's the uncontained.
No, the contained, what the city pays Eagle under the new contract begins July 1st.
Okay.
What the city charges the residential customer begins with the October billing.
I got it. Okay.
Councilmember Antonio, you may have said this, but when was the last time we raised trash rates?
The last time that the rates were raised, I believe, was 1999, and the consumer price index from that time up until the present adjusted, which is the same consumer price index used in this contract going forward, would put those rates at approximately $21 per month.
I think that's an important point in our conversations. We're talking about. We talked very consistently in the water and wastewater arena about this as well, but we are charging $17.30, but the reality is we're providing a service that costs well above that at this current time.
Good point. Okay, thank you, Larry. And, Bob Williams and the any other committee members here? Sean and Rob.
Thank you, sir. I'm Bob Williams. I was chairman of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. I appreciate the chance to speak to you again. Other members of the committee here are Sean Watt and Councilman Antoniak, who are also on the committee. And I just tonight would like to be brief and say that Sanitation Division staff and Mr. Lang and Mr. Nichols last week met with us and gave us an update on the status of the contract and the proposal and the complete recycling and refuse collection plans of the sanitation division. And we were very pleased as a committee that, as Brian said, the key provisions of all of the recommendations made by the committee are intact. There were some changes, and we feel the changes were made for very good business reasons. And we just want you to know that we support the proposal and the current status that the proposal and the plan is to collect solid waste and implement a curbside recycling program. And we would recommend that you provide the sanitation division and the finance staff with the approval to move forward with this program. I have two anecdotal comments. One of the educational sessions will be held in Palm Valley. And two, over a year ago, when we started this program, some of the comments that we on the committee got from citizens were something to the effect of, "Don't mess with my trash." And now we all agree that I can't go to the golf course or to the clubhouse or to Safeway without running into somebody that says, "When do I get my recycling container?" So we would ask that you approve the program, and we would ask that you do it as soon as possible so we can get into recycling for the city. And again, thank you all very much for all of the committee. I speak for all of the committee when I say thank you for allowing us to participate in this program. We really enjoyed it. It was very educational and, again, very enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bob, yours and the committee's affirmation of what is being recommended is very important to all 7 members of this council. So we thank you for coming here tonight and expressing that. Okay, let's see where we are in this one. So we've had the staff, we've had the committee, we have council comments so far. Will be more maybe. Now it's opportunity for public. Other public comments.
Yes, raise the rates, get it back to where they belong.
Now that you should have said at the mic.
My name is Gary Gilzer. I'm a citizen of Goodyear. I believe that the Solid Waste Committee's recommendations are well within the purview of taking Goodyear to the next level of solid waste collection and recycling. I also believe that the current rates have stayed static for too long a time, and I believe that the city should be on a full cost recovery for this enterprise program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Comments from the public in addition to that? Okay, seeing none. I'd ask for a motion from Councilmember Antoniak, and I'd suggest you do both recommendations, if we could do that in one.
Do both? Okay. I move that council award, or can I do that? Can I do both? Award the contract and the...
Yes.
Sorry.
Award the contract.
That's what he said.
You might want to do them separately because one is the contract and the other is the total rate.
Yeah, they're different.
They're two different issues.
Two different issues.
All right, so, Mayor, is that...
Go ahead.
I just wanted, okay. I move that council award a contract to Eagle Hauling Subcontracting to Waste Management to provide all-inclusive solid waste recyclable material collection services at the rate of $14.04 per month per residential account effective June 20, 2006 for a period of 10 years with annual adjustment of 80% of CPI-U.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Lord. Okay, so it's again awarding the contract. Is there any comments or further discussion on that by council?
For the vote.
Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Councilmember Antoniak, would you take the second recommendation for motion?
All right. I move that council adopt total sanitation rate per month based upon the recommendation of $21.50 from the City Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which met on Thursday, June 15th. New rates will be incorporated in the city code and resolution for council action on June 26, 2006.
Second motion.
Motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Souza. on the adopting the sanitation rate per month. Open for discussion. Councilmember Antonio?
Just to reiterate it, just a few points. We haven't raised rates since 1999, and I think it's, very, again, can't be stated enough. It's, but it is obvious we do need to do that, as well as, while it did end up being a little bit more than what we had anticipated, it still was very, very competitive. We saw a distribution of $10 between all of the different bids. I think we got the most, the best bang for the buck. And again, thanks for the staff. The staff did a fantastic job. Their patience and their diligence as we went through multiple meetings on this issue, as well as the rest of the council on learning this one. So.
Okay, and just as a further comment, Larry, or Brian, as I understand it, then the rate will continue at $17.30 through the summer until October, at which time it will be $21.50. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, congratulations. Good work, really. Your information brochures are exceptional. I know, Paula, you were involved in that. It's really good stuff. So it's great to make sure the public understands it, and that's exactly what you've done.
Are the dimensions of the cans on there? I forgot to ask. Okay, I forgot to look at them.
Okay, it's time for any follow-up action required.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have one item, and I do want to mention that you have in front of you, in addition to the one item I'm going to give you, is the open house for Van Buren Reconstruction. That's going to be Thursday at City Hall, 6 p.m. The staff item is that staff will be providing to the city council members a list of potential questions and answers regarding the city's sanitation programs that may be raised by citizens, so that council will be fully advised and able to answer those questions themselves. Be part of our resource hotline.
Okay, thank you. Are there any inquiries of staff by council? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.